Okay.
Alright, so welcome back to BS Garage, Broke Snipes Garage. We're gonna move into the C10. We're gonna work on the intake gasket. We gotta pull the intake up. We got a broken stud up here in the front. It's kind of hard to see right here. And then they couldn't get the 4 bolts in the center to line up, and they cross-threaded that one, it looks like. While we have it off, we can clean up, take the carburetor off and check the gasket under here, because that was leaking a little bit the other day when we got it running. But I'm not sure if that's because of the fact that the gasket's bad, or if it just was because it wasn't tight. While we're doing that, we're also going to pull the valve covers off and look at the heads and see if we can get the numbers on the head, so that we can see what heads it has. So I guess we can get started on that. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is start getting all these hoses off. Luckily we don't have any coolant in here, so this shouldn't leak all over. We'll just stick this right in the cold air intake there. Our way. And we got a 3/8 out here, right? Yep. So. Go ahead and get this one out. What do we got here? Oh, yeah. Sweet. Okay, we gotta loosen it, not tight. Okay, maybe these. Let's say I talked to the dates. These are so.
It's not freezing cold today.
Yeah.
Be more helpful if I was taller. Wow, that thing really is brand new. Go ahead and set it on the gasket.
What's that?
So go ahead and save on that gasket.
How does it look? Does it look like it's messed up any place on there where it was leaking?
No, it just probably wasn't tight enough.
Yeah. Alright, so now what?
Screwdriver, we'll get this cap out of the way.
You want that big Bertha?
Yeah, the flexible one. as well.
What's that?
I said, what the heck, might as well.
Just a big screwdriver. I think this is the right size for that, is it? It is.
Is it?
Yep.
So when we were messing with this thing the other day,
See this?
we set top dead center. Quality. So we know where that's at now. Marked everything on the crankshaft.
That'll break out of the way.
Can you grab me the paint marker when you get a chance? Got a half-inch wrench.
Half-inch wrench.
Yeah.
What do you want the wrench for?
To take the bolt loose on the distributor.
That one was not 16.
Oh, yeah.
My distributor wrench is half-inch, and that wouldn't work. Mark where distributor's pointing. You got the 7/16 out there?
Somewhere.
What's half-inch?
So mark the blocks so we can make sure the distributor goes back in where it needs to go. And then once we take it out, we're going to mark where the cap is sticking, or pointing, so we can put that back in right, so it just drops right in. Otherwise, we're going to be fighting the,
I don't know where the 7/16 socket's at.
oil pump shaft to get the line back up. Here we go.
This with the 3/8 to start taking out the intake bolts, and I can use the ratchet and start taking out that way.
Doesn't feel like somebody did some much work on it.
That.
Definitely doesn't feel like anybody torqued these. Oh yeah, probably gonna want to chase these bolts.
Yeah. What is that? Got a bunch of crap out of them.
No, that last one I took out, the one that looked like it was cross-threaded,
Oh yeah.
they pretty sure probably was.
You want to get the air hose and blow that out?
Yeah.
That way we can tape or something over there too. Over the holes there. It's gonna get loud. He's gonna plug the air compressor in.
Alright, we're gonna take a break for a minute while I plug the air compressor in, that way it's not crazy loud in the camera. Okay, so Corey pulled one of the valve covers off. Got everything blown out so we don't have anything drop into the engine, because that's never good. Now we're going to take the other valve cover off and work on the intake. Y'all get the turbo in yet?
No. Oh yeah, you gotta cheat and use the air or the battery power.
Okay, I keep telling you I'm short. Not that they were really tight.
Yeah. Well, no. We haven't taken that one off yet. This is the first one, the first time. TJ, just in time we got the valve covers off so you can.
Okay.
I know you said you wanted to do that. Oh.
You got steel wool? Or you want to use something else?
Yeah, I have some. Squad zero. Yeah. Squad zero. Steel wool. Yeah, just do a little bit there on that bench. You can clean everything all up with those. And then we gotta get some ready bucket with some fuzzy waters. Use with that.
Oh, you didn't have to pry it or nothing.
What's that?
Didn't even have to pry it off or nothing. Just pick it right up.
Oh yeah.
It looks like we don't have a small enough extractor to make that work, so we're going to try the always trusty vice grips. This should be interesting.
Yeah.
These are the racks I can use, right, for.
You can use either ones. Holy crap. We gotta go. Oh yeah.
Maybe looks smaller on our side. Not that one.
Yeah. Dang.
Alright, so the next step we're going to do is chase the threads. Pretty much make sure the threads are good to go so the bolts will go in easier. Clean them up a bit.
Well, Kevin's doing that part. I'm gonna get the phone and take a picture of these numbers on the head here, and try and figure out what we got for heads exactly.
The reason I have my hand down here on the head of the ratchet instead of way out here on the handle is you can feel it when it stops, and you're not going to try to over torque it and either snap your tap off down in the hole or bust through the block.
Alright, see if we can actually read this.
A little bit of penetrating oil. Probably should have done this before I started this one, but won't hurt.
Well, I can see my numbers now, so I'm going to go ahead and work on decoding this.
Okay, I'm not sure where we left off because the camera battery died. But right now I'm plugging up all the ports so that we can clean up the gasket surface. So we have a nice clean surface. We don't get any gunk in the gasket and mess it up so it doesn't seal. Be right back and explain how we're going to clean this gasket seal or this gasket surface off. Okay, now we've got all the intake and exhaust ports, water ports plugged off in the head. Have the valve train covered up and the valley covered up so we don't get a bunch of gunk down in the engine. We're using basically an angle grinder with a Scotch-Brite pad. Clean up this gasket mating surface. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. If you're going to use this setup, you got to be careful not to dig in too hard with these Scotch-Brite pads because they will take metal off if you're not careful.
All right, we're ready to set the intake, get ready to set the intake back in. So I'm gonna run a bead of silicone across the back and across the front, and then we'll take the gaskets over here and set them down in there, and then put just a dab of in each corner right where the gasket meets the silicone, and then we'll let that set for a few minutes and kind of start to set up a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and set the intake down. And you want to be liberal with this, but not too liberal. You don't want to have goop running all into your intake and everything. I don't really care for the rubber gaskets that they give you for the ends, so this is the way I do it. So why don't you go ahead and put down in the comments how you like to do these. Do you use those rubber gaskets, or do you not use them and just use silicone like I'm doing? That way we can see how other people do it. We're using Mr. Gasket, as they're a little thicker. I feel like they're gonna give us a little better seal on this intake.
This is it, huh?
Alright, so just about done, and then we can let it sit for a little bit. Alright, I'll clean that up a little bit, and then we'll see how she looks. Alright, so we've let it sit for a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and get the intake set down on, and just try and get the bolts started. We're not going to torque it down yet. We're going to let it, once we get it on there and set, then we're going to try and let it set for a little bit longer, let that silicone set up. Alright. Where's our bolt set? Let's start in the center here and see if we can get them to start. See, something's not right here already. You might need to climb up in there, because I can't climb up in there. See, it's not, I don't think it's right where it's supposed to be in the back. Can you see in there, in the holes? Are they lined up in the center or not? Right there. I think it slid back when trying to. Those holes look like they're right.
It's not right. Come here.
Which one?
So the angle on this is different.
Yeah. That intake's not gonna work. This is definitely angled this way.
I mean, it might work if we drum it.
I don't know. I don't think we're gonna be able to get the angle we need on it. Cause like in order for me to get this side down in there, like it's still not even close to starting in. And that's as much of an angle as I can get it. this intake not right? Alright, so pull it out. Alright, so upon further investigation or looks at this, it looks like this intake is not going to work for this vehicle. So we're going to pull it back off, clean it back up, and we're going to make a run and get a new intake. Oh yeah, I grabbed right into the silicone. Sweet! I don't know what I was thinking.
Says I need additional 8 gigs on my computer to import all this video.
Alright, let's stop it. Oops. Alright, so we got the new intake from the parts store. We got this specific one because it's the one they had in stock. So no other reason behind that. But we got the gaskets put back on, beat a silicone, let it set for a little bit, and then we set the intake on and we put all the bolts in finger tight. That's just let it sit now until that silicone gets a chance to stiffen up, and then once that's all tight, all had the time, then we can go ahead and tighten it all down and we should be good to go on the intake. We started working on exhaust. It's kind of hard to show you guys under there. We're putting from the headers back just some cherry bombs on it, and that's it to get us by so that it's not so loud when I'm starting it up in the neighborhood. All right.
Okay.
All right, so Kevin just took our fan off because we got 2 electric fans coming. We're gonna have 2 12-inch electric fans to help pull air through to keep it cool, because we don't like having the other one pulls horsepower. We don't want to lose no horsepower. And I'm going to go ahead and put this pulley system back in that I took out the other day for getting the numbers off the block. Alright. I stuck the bolts back in here. And I just dropped one of them. Oh, of course. And of course it disappeared. What the heck? Why does it never make it to the floor? I found it. Alright. It's kind of a pain to get in here. Where's it gonna go here? Actually, he's gonna put this one in first. The intake sat overnight. We got the exhaust on last night on both sides. We're going ahead and torque down the intake now, following the steps that were provided in the instructions for it. So I'm going to go ahead and start right now. I always double click it to make sure. That's just what I was always taught to do. So supposed to be torqued to 25 foot-pounds. No. Whenever you use torque wrenches and stuff, you need to make sure that you release them and go back to the lowest pounds so it doesn't stretch the spring out. Alright, so I guess our next step would be putting the distributor in and then the carburetor. Or you want to do the carb first and then distributor?
Do the distributor first.
Yeah, and then we're gonna get the distributor in first, and then we can stick the carb on, and then I kind of want to pull out number one plug. We're gonna look in the cylinder and see what the cylinder walls look like with the borescope, and then we might actually roll it over and check compression on all of it just to see where it's at, so we know how strong the engine is. And we'll go from there.
Okay, so when I pulled this out, I made a mark of where the rotor ended up. So hopefully, with any luck, I can drop this thing right back down where it needs to be and we'll be lined up ready to go. Otherwise, we're going to have to fight to try to find the oil pump shaft. It's really close.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Alright, so now we can get the hold down for that put in, and then we're going to go ahead and get the carburetor put on, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Alright, we got the borescope out, we got number 2 cylinder spark plug out, and we're just looking at it, and it appears that it has some cross hatching left on it. So I would assume that this engine has been rebuilt. You can kind of make out the cross hatching every once in a while on it. It doesn't look quite clean. We know there's some scoring, but you know, when we started rolling this over, it was very loud inside. You could tell it sounded pretty dry. So I don't know if you guys can see that at all. But that's what it's looking like. So it looks like we have an engine that's been rebuilt, because I highly doubt that on a 1970 built engine that it has so few miles that there's still cross hatching.
Oh, one down, one to go. We'll take this one out, let it cool off, so we can put it in, and then let you go watch Corey for a while I weld the other one.
Alright, well, I got my tools here. I'll go ahead and start putting these plugs in over here first. Drop the tools. Alright, so at least we'll have the fun of using the wrench again on these. so much fun back here with the ones you got a wrench in. Getting closer to being able to start this thing up again. I know in the first episode we didn't have the mic on, so you guys couldn't hear the engine start up at the end. But we'll be able to hear it this time. Well, these back ones are always such a pain to get them to start. Pretty sure we got it started now. Done. Oh, whoops, shit. I gotta go the other way. Just gotta tighten it a little bit before you loosen it, right, Kevin?
Yep.
At least this one's a little bit easier to get to than the back one, even though it's right up against the header. You know, we went up and got these plugs and everything, and we were really looking for trying to get a master cylinder for it so we could get that done, because that one's in rough shape. But it's looking like we're gonna have to try and save on that one, because ain't nobody got one around here. So, and we really want to try and get these brakes up so that we can try and take this for a little test drive, hopefully by the end of the day today. But we'll see how that works out for us. For right now, I think we're just gonna use the wires that were on it. They don't look the greatest and they're mismatched, but I don't want to spend the money on those right yet. That way we can go ahead and get it running and everything. And we want to also special order some blue ones for it. So we'll see how this goes with the old wires. I don't think we'll have any issues as far as that goes. So far, with the couple times that we did get it to start up, it didn't sound like it was missing, although that was also with open headers, so I could be wrong. because each time we ran it, we only ran it for a couple minutes so that my neighbors didn't get mad. So, why don't you guys put in the comments if you had a neighbor that had a vehicle out working on it and everything, would you be mad if they started it up with open headers for testing purposes? I mean, I honestly wouldn't care. I'd probably want to go over and see it, see what they're working on. But let us know in the comments what you would do. Oh, come on. No, this one don't want to start neither. The heck? All right. Well, that's the last one on this side, so we'll finish up doing these and we'll come back once we get the exhaust put together and the plug's finished. All right, I think that's going to do it for this video. We got a little bit of stuff done today and we got the intake put on. You got the
Exhaust put on, distributor in.
Yep, we got the, we got to check the #1 cylinder for cross hatching and stuff. Little odds and end things, but it's all adding up. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, push the little bell so that you get the notifications when we put new videos out. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. Well,
Thanks.
thanks and have a good one.